I am super excited. As you can see here, Rimworld Odyssey, our next Rimworld DLC. I've been pretty happy overall with the Rimworld DLCs. I did a previous tier list if you're curious to think about which DLCs you'd like to get if you are new to Rimworld, and I think I'm going to enjoy this one quite a bit. Let's go through and see what's all coming here. Not only is this going to be covering Odyssey, this is also going to talk about update 1.6. So we're going to take a look at both of those things. So this is from Steam, obviously, and this is their first big announcement. So Odyssey here is going to expand our adventure beyond a single map. We're going to build a Gravship, our flying home, and travel across the planet. So first up, if you are a big fan of Save Our Ship, well, here you go. This is, I think, going to be kind of similar to that, but you can build your ship on the planet's surface and then fly around, including, it sounds like, up into space. We're going to have new biomes and new life forms and new exotic wildlife. Very excited about that. I love biomes. I have played with some biome mods in the past, but I tend to find that they can be a bit buggy. They can have kind of clashing visual styles. So this should be very in line with vanilla looking Rimworld. So I'm pretty happy about that. We can go on quest to hunt an ancient Thrumbo or raid a cryo sleep bunker. Very cool. We can launch into orbit and scavenge tech from stations and asteroids. Very, very nice. And it seems like our big bad in this one is going to be the ancient machine mind. So not only will this be Odyssey itself launching, we will also be getting the free 1.6 update, which they will talk about more below here. And it sounds like that's going to be pretty good too. So first up, we have building our Gravship. So it seems like you have to basically find a grav engine, or what do they call it in here? Yeah, a grav engine. And the more of those you have, the larger the ship that you can build. So I assume you're going to start off with a little tin can, and then as you expand those, you can get bigger and bigger. Can I expand that? Nope, not on this one. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I mean, that looks very Save Our Ship to me. You see some bodies in here. It looks like they're docked, I want to say. That looks like a landing pad, honestly. And it looks like they have spacesuits set aside here. So pretty cool looking. I assume that you can design this however you'd like. I love that. Next up here, we have Odyssey is about exploration, adventure, and new ways to play. Live as nomads that move with the seasons and kidnap raiders by taking off while they're on board. That's pretty cool. Here we can see there's a ship landed on this little island, and we have like bridges that have connected little base sections. Kind of a neat little base here. A little impractical, but that's okay. It doesn't have to always be practical. I like the idea of maybe we have like a home base and then you can fly out on missions and come home. But I also like the idea of you could just actually live a truly nomadic life because your base is the ship that you are flying around. So that could be pretty cool. So exploring new biomes and landmarks. So we have the Glow Forest, which has glowing mushrooms and spores, geothermal vents. That's pretty neat. The Scarlands, war-torn remains of a once thriving city. I actually was just looking for a mod that would give me exactly that. I wanted just like a post-apocalyptic city spot to do a playthrough, and I didn't really find anything that did quite what I wanted it to do. I found, as usual, a mod that was that, but then it had like a bajillion bloats that I didn't feel like going through Cherry Picker and fixing up. So I'm pretty happy about that. The grasslands are ranching cowpoke's dream. Another playthrough I'd love to do. I've never really done a ranching focused run. I think it'd be kind of cool to actually run like, I don't know, a herd of horses or a cattle drive or something. That could be pretty interesting. The glacial plains, another cold biome with mastodons. That sounds pretty cool. And lava fields, a little extreme, but I could definitely see that for like maybe a more sci-fi playthrough. You live on the lava fields or something. That could be pretty interesting. New landmarks is a system that combines with the biomes and gives us more variation. So I'm kind of interested in that. So cliffs, chasms, crevasses, valleys. This sounds a lot like is it Landforms Plus? I've run a mod that does this essentially. Very happy with that. Yeah, islands, archipelagos, atolls, peninsulas, fjords. Again, I for me to be interested in a map, I need it to have something cool and different on it. I don't like playing just plain maps. My default find is like I always end up building next to a cliff just so I can build into the cliff face. And I try to break that, but to break it, I don't want to just be on an open flat map. So I'm very excited about this. While those mods have worked absolutely fine, anything you can roll from a mod into base game is always excellent because it'll just work better because it's actually part of the program, or B, it opens up new things that the previous mod can then do. So that's pretty cool. New heavy bridges. Again, I have a mod for that. That's pretty funny. Again, I have no problem with that. I'm glad they're rolling in popular mods. So I love it when Rimworld does that. Abandoned colonies, another one I like to do. When I used to play with vanilla Vikings, I liked there was a start where you kind of like took over a base, and that was always kind of cool to do. Survive beyond the atmosphere. We're going to be able to fly up into space. Another awesome one. Again, Save Our Ship, I think, has always been able to do that. So this will be pretty cool. I love the idea, especially if we can have like from space and then we can come back down. So we could play like some sort of orbital scroungers and like we go raid the surface. That could be pretty cool. I love the idea that we come down and we abduct people and things like that. That could be a really cool space pirate run. Gets the old noggin jogging thinking about stuff like that. Oxygen pumps, good to see it. Maps here. I don't have too much really to say about this other than there's a mechanoid that's fighting on their ship, which is always spooky. Cute, terrifying, and intelligent wildlife. 40 new animals, so very nice. A lot of these, again, things I've had in mods before, but like I said, I'm very fine with them adding that. In addition, it sounds like a lot of the animals are going to get new things that they can do. So cats and dogs can nuzzle more often. Predators can be trained more. You can train them to dig up minerals. So maybe you're playing on a map that doesn't have any steel or something. You could train the animal to find you some steel. A new upgrade that we can make them smarter so that we can do more training. I'm really interested in that. I like playthroughs that have kind of like themed animals. I used to love doing like a tribal start that focused on wild boars when wild boars used to actually be kind of good because you could train them. Now we could do something like that. So that could be pretty interesting. They're talking here, mastodons can have a deafening trumpet that rattles enemies and throws off their aim. So it sounds like a lot of the animals are going to get some powers, which is cool. I love having animals in the base, but unless you're running some kind of janky mods, it's really hard to make them useful and cool beyond just like wave tactics or boomalopes or something like that. So pretty cool there. This will make animal psi powers a little more interesting, I think, too, with more animal variety. I'm not seeing too much here. These look like some sort of big timber wolf things. We got mastodon, thrombos, obviously. There's some penguins. Very, very cool. Quests across the planet and beyond. We can track down the Alpha Thumbo. We can raid ancient mercenary crypts, abandon orbital platforms and derelict satellites. Yeah, this screams to me. I want to do a playthrough somehow where I can start on an orbital platform with a tin can ship, and then we have to raid the surface for food and supplies. If that's not base game, I hope somebody makes a mod that I can use to do a playthrough like that. Mine asteroids, again, just cool to do there. New weapons, traps, and enemies. New unique weapon systems allow you to arm your colonies with special weapons, sawed-off shotguns, AI-assisted rifle scopes. Very cool. New gear. Hunter drones can chase their targets and explode. Extra wasp drones. Sentries patrol. I love all that. New goodies. The machine hive mind. Far above the planet, the mech hive pulses with hate. So we'll have that being like our main antagonist, I'm sure, for like maybe space, or maybe it's space and on the planet. So overall, pretty good. Before we talk about 1.6, I just want to talk about Odyssey itself. So where do I think this is going to land? I don't know in total, but my gut tells me this is definitely going to be more enjoyable, at least for me, than we got last time. The problem I had with the Anomaly was it was too specific. And especially on release, before some of the patches came in and made it a lot better, it was absolutely overwhelming for your playthrough. You almost had to turn it off if you didn't want to focus on it. In addition, if I want to do a run that doesn't focus on anomalies, especially before the patches, you really got nothing from anomaly. There was a couple items maybe where even in gameplay where I don't focus on the Imperials, I still use the psychic powers from royalty or the caravan system or things like that. That I think the caravan was base game, but it came out around royalty. So things like that. Biotech is huge in my playthroughs. I'm almost always doing something from biotech. So I like this because even if you don't want to focus on the ship and the space aspect, new biomes, new animals, new weapons, new things to do with your animals, new they talk about robots and drones. All those things could be their own playthrough. Like you focus on a base that's automated, or you have a lava base and you play some dwarves, or combine that with biotech and make your dwarves and things like that. So what I want out of Rimworld DLCs, especially if they're going to be like full price DLCs, and especially with how much we have content wise now, I want things that they don't have to only be broad, but they have to have at least a few things that will impact my playthrough. And I think this matches that bar for me, at least. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think that if you're not doing the spaceship, which seems to kind of be the main thing here, if you think there's enough other content that you could justify it? Or do you think this is going to be like Anomaly, where it's kind of like, well, if I'm not going to do the spaceship, I'm not really going to get much out of this one? I'd be curious to see what people thought about that. Okay, second half here, I want to talk about the 1.6. I think the 1.6 stuff is also super exciting. So you could go on Unstable right now. You could go test this out. This will be a way you can see if your mods are going to work for when the game comes out. So another thing to do there. Be on the lookout for people updating their mods. There's also a full changelog. I'm not going to go through that here. I don't think that's too much value add for me, but this is the big one. Performance improvements. And mainly what it is here, we reworked many of the systems to spread out their workload. For anyone who doesn't know, when Rimworld came out, I'm pretty sure it was 100% single-threaded. So it can only use, to very simplify, only use one of the cores of your CPU. And modern PCs, I don't know if anyone who still has a single core, I don't think anyone makes any, or you're probably not gaming on it if there is one. So by having multiple threads, you can offload some of the work. Now, there's been a mod that's tried to do this for a very long time to some success. It's very, very difficult to take a non-multi-threaded program and multi-thread it. At least it's been historically the case. Maybe that's gotten better. But the problem is essentially you have to imagine, like, if you have one thread that's having characters move and another thread that's doing, I don't know, temperature, they have to intersect at the right moments. And, you're doing thousands and thousands of calculations every second, and you need them to be able to touch bases with each other at the right time. So it's not as simple as just like copy movement code, move it over here. Okay, now it's multi-threaded. So this is a lot of work. Like, this is a lot of work. But this is something that really needed to be done for Rimworld. Rimworld has gotten better recently. It's hard for me to make too much comment on that because I've also got a bigger, more powerful PC than I had in the past. So it's been a lot better for me, but part of that was just upgrading my hardware. So here what they have done, pathfinding. And pathfinding and temperature are like the two worst systems. Maybe lighting is the third for just bottlenecks. Pathfinding is fully multi-threaded and batched. The lighting system is also multi-threaded. That is amazing. Also, optimizations made for caravan forging calculations, egg laying ponds, alerts, hauling, animal pen calculations. That's another really nasty one, I bet, because it has to do with pathfinding and area and size and seeking action. So that's probably a huge one there. Fix major memory leaks. I think I've felt that before. If you played long sessions, sometimes your game just seems to inexplicably slow down and a restart would fix. That's a memory leak. So hopefully that will be pretty good. Other things they've added here, better planning. This is another one. There's been tons of mods that do these next couple. So now there's more colors you can use when making your base plan. You can draw styles. So like here, they're showing drawing a circle. Again, things you could do with mods before, but now it's going to be base game. I like that. Other angles, etc., etc. caravan caps and quality of life. Again, we've had this in mods before, but I'm very excited that it's moving into base game. So you can temporarily like go into a camp map, but you're encouraged not to stay there because people will find you and attack you if you stay around. But when you're caravanning, I don't know if you guys have had it where it's like somebody's bleeding out, they're just not getting the proper treatment, or they're starving and you know they shouldn't be starving. So we can hop in a map, we can fix the problem, and then you can move on. So pretty good there. Easier building upgrades. Here's another mod I use. Essentially, if you have wooden walls, now you can just drag your stone walls over the top and your pawns will go disassemble and build the new walls right on top of it. In vanilla right now, you have to disassemble the wall. That has to be done. And then you have to paint down the new wall. So this is a great one. Search bar improvements, that's fine. Again, I use a mod for that. So a lot of quality of life coming in here. Map generation, reworked how map features behave to make them feel more organic and varied. Very nice about that. Rivers now curve more naturally and curve walkable banks. Nice, nice. Very excited. Yeah, we have a lot of rivers that right now it's like it's either river or wall and they just butt up against each other. This way that you'll have, you know, you can walk along the edge, etc., etc. Oh, geez, he's under attack by geese. They probably don't stand a chance. Flying animals. So chickens, ducks, geese can now fly. Imagine what this is going to do for modding. Flying ponds, I bet somebody will have rather soon. So that's pretty cool. Scoria rework. This is like the disease that man-eater mad animals get. Infected animals now look the part, mangy red, covered in sores. You really don't want to get close because wounds from a scaria infected creature cause scaria infections. Those behave like normal infections but cause full-blown scaria upon reaching. So this is almost more like an actual like rabies type thing, kind of sorta. So interesting one there. Room changes. Opponents are happy with mediocre bedrooms and they're less upset by awful ones. Again, a mod that I've used is to make bedrooms a little bit smaller. Medical beds contribute less to a room becoming a hospital due to situations where barracks could become hospitals from a single bed. Okay, good change. Armor and weapon change to rebalance some of the combat gear to make things more useful and less clunky. Plate armor benefits more from high-end materials, advanced armors. Okay, cool, cool. UI enhancements. Again, I use a mod for UI, so the less mods I have to run, the happier I get. So we'll see if that actually does what I would like it to do. New art, cool. More quality of life stuff. Excellent. What else are we going to see here? What do we have? Wish list the thing. I will do that as soon as I'm done with my video here. We've heard you. Well, you were asked for it. It made sense. After 10 years of building Rimworld colonies on a single map, Odyssey opens up an entirely new playstyle. We're super excited to see what you'll do with it. So, unfortunately here, I did not see anything about a release date. So, knowing Rimworld, though, they usually have pretty quick turnarounds. I would expect probably within a month, 2 tops. Pure guess, but that's, I think, pretty historical for them. We'll probably get one of these every week or every 2-3 days, and that'll lead up to the actual release. So let me know what you guys think there. For me, I'm a lot more excited about this than Anomaly. While my opinion on Anomaly has softened some due to the patches that they have done, I feel like there was a lot that was still missing from that. So this feels a lot more complete, although this feels like a lot of quality of life. But remember, this second half was all patch 1.6. That's not the DLC you'll have to pay for. So even if you don't like the Odyssey ship and you don't care, you will still be able to get all these juicy, juicy quality of life updates. So I am very, very excited for those. Let me know what you're thinking on that. Especially, where do you think this will slot in on your personal like tier list of Rimworld DLC? Also, I have to say, with the O, maybe the dream of Rimworld will come back instead of, what are we at, like Wibawom or whatever we were building towards. So maybe the dream will be kept alive. Okay, builders, I look forward to reading your comments. I will probably continue to cover this up until release. Maybe we'll try to get a sneaky little playthrough in before it releases, and then we'll do a playthrough after it releases so we can make some comparisons. All right, babble out. I'll see you on the rim.